So as we continue our journey through the topic of ratios and proportions, we are on objective 3B. Now, I had done a video prior to this for simplifying ratios with fractions, but my students had a little challenge, so I decided to go into a little bit more detail. There are two things I really need to mention, though. This topic, if you're doing the BGCSE, can be done very simple if you're using your calculator. All you need to do if you're using the calculator is to multiply both of these ratios or these fractions by the lowest common multiple. So the lowest common multiple of 4 and 3 is 12. Now, the reality is your calculator will not tell you what the lowest common multiple is. So if you do not know the lowest common multiple, then method 2 will work better for you, where you want to multiply twice. So first you would multiply both of these by 4, and then take those answers and then multiply those ratios or those fractions by 3. So if you're using the lowest common multiple method, you are only going to multiply these numbers once and you'll be done. Now, I still want to go through the process so that you can see what it looks like if you do not have a calculator, because you might be watching this video not necessarily because you're trying to pass the BGCSE. So we have 1 1/4 being compared to 1/3, and we want to simplify this. So when we're done, there will not be any fractions, so we will be eliminating the denominators by multiplying by the denominators. Of course, we will use, in this particular video, we're focusing on the LCM method. So the lowest common multiple of 3 and 4 is 12. So we're going to multiply both of these by 12. So if you're not using a calculator, you want to multiply the whole number by 12. You want to multiply this fraction by 12. And you want to multiply this fraction by 12. Of course, I'm using this method because when you're multiplying, if you can change the 1 1/4 to an improper fraction, which is 5/4, but sometimes I think it's just easier to just multiply once, twice, 3 times, and then just add these two values up. So let's have a look and see how that's done. So the 1, the whole number, being multiplied by 12 will give us 12. This portion here, 4 goes into 4 once, and 4 goes into 12 3 times. So only thing I'm going to have left here is 1 times 3. So this is going to be 12 plus 3 when I take into consideration all of this was one number. That's going to give us 15. And when I get to the right side, I'm going to say 3 into 3 is once, and 3 into 12 is equal to 4. So 1 times 4 is 4, and so when we look at it, the 12 from this portion, the 3 from this portion gives us 15 when added. Of course, this will come down straight as 4. So I would like to use another example so that we get a better understanding of this concept. So now we have the left ratio or left fraction is 2 3/5, and on the right we have 2/7. Looking at the denominators, we have 5 and 7. So that means that our LCM is going to be 35. So 35 is the lowest common multiple. So if we multiply both of these fractions by 35, we will have simplified this ratio. So we have to multiply the whole number by 35. The fraction 3/5 need to multiply by 35, and the fraction 2/7 need to multiply by 35. Of course, if you were using a calculator, you just multiply by 35 and you'd be done much quicker. Of course, I'm just assuming that those persons who are doing the BGCSE will have a calculator, but if you're doing some other exam, you may or may not have a calculator at your hands. So let's have a look. So we're going to multiply the whole number 2 by 35, which is going to give us 70. We get to the fractional part of it. 5 goes into 5 one time, and then 5 goes into 35 7 times. So when we multiply the 3 times the 7, you're going to get 21. This is also a good practice for those persons doing BJC, by the way, so I don't feel guilty for using this method. So let's look at this fraction here. 7 into 7 is 1, and 7 into 35 will give us 5. And when we multiply the 2 by the 5, we're going to get 10. So using the whole number, we're going to get 70. 3 times 7 is 21. They need to be added because this came from the same number. That's going to be 91, and then you bring down the 10.